And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I am. Oh no.
And I am Justin.
Oh
What?
nope.
Oh,
Hold
no,
up.
what?
Hold up.
Do we not
I
have
told
any
you I was trying to
volume?
break my audio, and I just got too caught up watching Trevor.
Oh dear.
It's fine. We're good. We can carry on.
Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Justin still.
Good. And together we're the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
Not only that, but we're also the founders of Codename.
And we're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Unless we're not.
So far, so good.
Today is our 25th episode.
And it's our first episode of the new year.
And hopefully it'll be our best episode yet this new year.
I don't see how it could work out any other way. Although we're off to a good start.
We still our best episode this year.
That's right.
We are here to answer your development and design questions about idle champions or other things, maybe.
And if you don't ask any questions, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of his family Christmas dinner.
Oh yeah, that's a fun story actually. We forgot to pick up the turkey.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That does seem like it's probably important.
Yeah, we pre-ordered a fresh turkey from the butcher, and then on Christmas Eve at about 10 p.m. we were like, I feel like we're forgetting something.
Yeah, but at least it wasn't Kevin at the airport. Wait,
anyway,
that works the other way around.
So anyway, if you don't ask any questions, don't expect to get any turkey.
I don't think people were expecting any in the first place, but anyway.
Yeah.
So as always, we've pulled some questions forward from our previous show, which happens to be nearly a month ago, because we were going to do one more before the new year, but then you got fairly sick, and that kind of, at least too sick to stream. So
I was sick the last streaming day before Christmas.
Yep. All right, so we're just going to get into those questions. Let's see what we got here in the doc. Mm-hmm. Oh, right. Okay. So I've got an update here that I promised on the stream that was on the 9th, I want to say. 9th of December was the last stream we did.
Yeah, that sounds right.
The question was, and there'd been a series of questions that had been asked that episode, the previous episode, and I think the episode before that, all by member of the chat here named Volkus, who may or may not be. Oh, yeah, he's with us. Anyway, the question that was left was around background party simulations and offline calculation questions. And specifically, there was a question about Avron's mirror images. And following that, there were some questions around ultimate cooldowns and skill cooldowns. And then there was even another question after that about familiars on backgrounds and whether that affected party progress. And so I said, listen, I'll go ask Mark. He'll know. He's the guy who's got sort of all that. He should be the master of that information. Unfortunately, when I asked him about Avron, the first thing he said was, I don't know, ask Peter. That's a Peter thing. Because I guess Peter actually did the tech for that. Anyway, long story short, I did come back with some answers, although the ones I got back from Peter weren't 100% as confident as I was hoping they would be. But at least the first two, ultimate cooldowns and skill cooldowns, do get the time that's being simulated gets applied to them. So those don't reset at the beginning of each area. Those get used as they come up, and that time does get tracked. The Avron mirror images, at first Peter was actually like, nope, that gets reset. And then he went through the code and he was like, actually, I don't think it does. I think it carries forward. And so I confidently share with you that he believes that the mirror images do transfer from area to area during offline progression. But he didn't have a reason not to believe that was happening. I may poke him later to see if we can confirm that 100%. The next question was around the familiars clicking on the background, picking up goobers, and whether or not that affected the rate at which you went through on background parties. And the answer is it does not. So the goober pickup is actually set to instantaneous when the game is running in background mode. So having the familiars there or not would not affect the rate of pickup, but of course it would still affect the amount of damages and rate of monsters being killed. So there we go. hopefully that answers the question. I'm going to guess that Volkus had another one prepared for us, so I'm going to scroll down here and see it. And anyway.
You know how before the stream we were joking, I had my glass of water here, and we were joking that I was going to like drink it and then like cough or like choke on the water.
Oh, yeah.
I literally just spent the entire time that you were answering those questions just coughing to myself. So thank God for a mute button. Anyway.
It's the first stream of the year. What else could go wrong? We could sit here for 15 minutes trying to get it to stream.
Oh, ouch. Deep cut.
I just. These things happen, okay?
We do have some questions here that we've collected from prior shows. So why don't we go through a couple of those, and then we can get into the new questions.
Okay.
You go first.
Sure. First question here is, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Vrancian? Vranikin. Zap Vranikin.
VR Anakin.
I don't know. Question. Are the trials being looked at for vial cost balances?
Yes. So this is actually related to some of the other questions that I've seen coming in already as well. But we are planning some changes to trials this year. We're going to be going over those, I believe, at next week's production meeting. So they will get onto the schedule, and then we can start implementing some of those things. And one of those things is the vial cost balances. I don't want to get into too much of what the other things are, just because none of them are nailed down yet, and I haven't gotten the okay from dev to actually do them and make sure that we have time to do them in the schedule and whatnot. So the cost balance changes is one thing that I'm pretty confident we'll be able to get in.
Okay. Next question here is from Maelstrom.
I can ask you that one, because that's for you.
Oh no! All right, take it
from
then.
Maelstrom 7737.
You just get it because it's an easy to pronounce username.
I was just going for the easy to pronounce usernames.
Yeah.
That's correct. And I'll get the next one as well, but not the one after that. So this is a question that we've gotten before. And they asked, are there plans to change conversion of trials favor so it has a delay and it does not freeze the current run the moment trials ends? And this was the one where like the background party is doing trials or some sort of situation that we are aware of that can lead to the game sort of freezing and popping up that conversion dialogue.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's something that we definitely talked about, and I think we should get to getting that in at some point. I know Jacob, who was going to be looking at that, is working on some new stuff right now, and there's a bunch of time-sensitive stuff on that. So once that time-sensitive stuff is taken care of, then this can be put back onto the priority list. But for sure, yeah.
I think we wanted to sort of expand and not just fix the trials one doing this, but also change how timegate favor converts as well.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly.
There was definitely some discussion around sort of caching those runs, but I wasn't 100% sure that we'd sort of narrowed down exactly how we were going to change that. But
so the next question here from Silverion X asks, when you try to load a party and you have some champions in other parties, it gives you a warning and you can click yes or no to pulling those champions from the other parties. Could we get it to load the rest of the formation if you click no? Or my suggestion would be a third option. Yes, no, or
maybe
someone.
Can we get it? Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a I wonder if that makes sense from like the point at which you're missing one champion potential. I guess there's always the potential of missing more than one champion, so you kind of have the question of, if you skip that one and then continue loading, do you skip the next one, and what do you put in that place? And I know we had issues with that where it was loading up champions and then it was still putting on like the familiars in the spot that champion had been, which was creating quite a bit of confusion, which is why we opted to change the recall to be instantaneous now, instead of pull them back and trying to update where your progress was previously. Yeah, I mean, it feels like those options could be expanded to include like cancel, like yes, no, cancel, continue, or I guess yes, skip
Load
this.
load what's available.
Yeah, it could be like recall, skip this champion, cancel load.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's something we could think about if a lot of people are sort of having issues with that and suggesting that that's something that'd be useful for them. But it's not something I'd prioritize unless we're getting general feedback that was something players were running into on a more regular basis. Okay, last question we have left over from the previous show is from Willig. And Willig asks, it was either Mars or Gar that said there was an unnamed BG character coming, and since you said a gnome was incoming, is it Tiax? I hope I'm saying that right.
So I really I put this question here because it's easy to answer, because the Baldur's Gate character we were talking about, I believe, was Viconia, who is now released. So there's the benefits of not doing a show for a month, is a bunch of stuff that you were teasing gets released. So that was Viconia, I believe we were talking about. If there's another gnome coming, they're still coming.
In the future.
Someday. Now that's last show's questions. So now we're into the new questions, which I have absolutely been
me too.
You were doing that because I remember how to do this.
That's what I was going to say. I forgot how to do this.
I did highlight a couple of questions at the very beginning here, so we can at least go over these. This first one is from Lizard Taste Good, who says, with all the added game speed from Shandy, Fast Core, potions, etc., it is now easier than ever to get to the 10 times speed cap. Can we get the game speed cap raised?
All right. That's got, I think that's got two layers associated with that, right? Like the first layer is just from a design standpoint, is that something that makes sense? And then the second layer is that just from a tech standpoint, that every time we increase the game speed, the game still has to do all the interim calculations, sort of part of the structure of it, which is part of why, for example, or it's why when you do offline progress, it pauses for a couple of seconds there when your game loads, or we run it sort of more slowly in the background. But that actually limits the rate at which it can go. Like sort of the speed is actually limited by how fast the system can calculate it, and then also still have time to do a frame render. Yeah, I think there is an upper limit. I know when we're doing testing, actually, we have the ability to unlimited set that rate up. And we don't actually benefit much from having that too much higher without then actually running into a frame rate problem, because unfortunately, some elements are tied to animation frames occurring. And that's because they're the smallest unit of delay is 1 frame, whatever that turns out to be. And for most cases, it doesn't matter. It doesn't end up being a big deal. But if your frame rate if you've got the speed really, really high and your frame rate can't keep up, then it actually does end up being, that 16th of a second, or no, yeah, 60th of a second ends up affecting sort of overall over how the calculations turn out, especially over the course of a couple of minutes of play. So I don't think we could push it much higher than 10 without some careful thought about how we can skip over those things.
Yeah, that was my feeling as well on this question.
Yeah, because I mean, we struggle to run it over that just in dev mode, pushing it up. And I know I've had some success setting the frame rate to like 200 and then bumping it past that, but it's yeah. You actually need a fairly beefy system to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question here is from Garwar. And Garwar asks, you had previously stated that the new patron perk tiers would be added, but we would need more influence than is currently available to complete anything. Can you talk about why you decided not to do it that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think when I was just putting in the balancing for that earlier this week, and I just wanted to be nicer. I wanted to let you guys get everything. Sort of what the change I think that's probably happened between my previous answer and this one is that our intention is to pick up the pace of rolling out new perks. So rather than having them be like something that comes out, once every couple of years or something like that, that they come out a little more regularly. So that way we can we can sort of keep up with the variance and the favor and the currency that's available, or rather favor at least, that's available for each patron. So it's more an idea of we think we'll be able to do it more often, so we can be a little bit more generous with letting you get them all, as opposed to not being able to do them quite so often. And so we want to leave a bit of a stretch goal in there for players. So that is what we're doing with that. And it looks like there's a giveaway going in chat right now, if I read this correctly. Looks like you can enter to win enter for a chance to win 42 chests of your chosen type by typing, oh my gosh, what, new year, same devs. New Year's aim devs into chat. Just copy and paste it for the message in chat. And you can get 42 chests of your chosen type. Those can be gold chests, those can be champion chests, they can be Modron component chests, they can't be Glory of Bahamut chests, they could be supply chests. Your choice. New year, same devs. Let us move on to the next question. Okay. Here's a question. Here's the next question from Vovcast. A very serious question, I'm sure. It's more of a comment, actually. It says, it's not fair that heroes instantly melee hit monsters from afar without any consequences, and enemies have to walk to the formation to hit someone. Even range monsters can only shoot 2 meters long. Monsters demand fair rules and rights. What are your thoughts on this, Dave?
All right, so what I'm hearing is monsters that jump and charge from a distance and then jump back. And because it's been this way for so long, we should actually change that distance so the monsters can get to you first. That's what I'm hearing.
They jump on from off screen, attack you, and then jump back off screen to where you can't attack them.
Yes, it's a new variant type.
Defeat the enemies without being able to touch them. Requires some magic.
Are you allowed to do that?
Maybe not.
Okay, next.
Don't sue me.
Next question is from Make543 asking, hello, current legendary system locks legendaries to specific champs. Sorry.
You got my coughing thing?
Yeah. When a new
champion... I've got a mute button. You can use mine.
Mute button's here somewhere. Current legendary system locks legendaries to specific champs. With new when a new champion is introduced, it is very hard to change those. 6+ weeks give that champ legendaries. Is this ever going to be changed to be better and not so rigid? At least in your older game Crusaders, you could change the legendaries around, and that was a much better system.
Yeah, so this is a good question, and it will be this system will be addressed when we do our trials and legendary updates that I've mentioned earlier in the show. I don't really want to go the same direction as Crusaders, because Crusaders, the way that you could basically unenchant items to go back to Epic, it led to a lot of kind of manual labor if you wanted to switch those things around. And I think it was just really annoying to actually switch legendaries around. And so that's the reason that in Champions, we don't let you switch legendaries around, because I don't want, even though that system might be useful in some cases or in a bunch of cases, I would much rather make it so you don't feel like you have to do that or want to do that. So yeah, there's some changes coming to legendaries that will hopefully make that a lot less of a thing you want to do, and mainly revolves around making it take less than 6+ weeks to give a champion full legendaries if you've got the points for it. But I shall say no more at this point until I have gotten the okay from the devs. Let's see here. The next question from Tarangar, who asks, can we get a more complete changelog? I'm seeing damage changes on a formation that has not changed one bit since before the patch, so I'm wondering what tweaks have been done to calculations or abilities. I saw folks talking about this in the company chat earlier today. Let me see if I can scroll back and see.
Was there something that
if we
did go
figure
out that wasn't?
what it was. So I guess I mean the part of the answer to this is we try to changelog pretty much all the changes we make, or all the changes we intentionally make, I guess I should say. Sometimes situations like this, when your damage goes down or even up after a release and there's nothing about it in the changelog, it could be something that was unintentional. It could also be something that was related to a change that was done that we didn't like. It affected something else.
That's kind
either
of what you would
intentionally
call
or
unintentional.
non-intentionally.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been intentional. Like, if you change up how an effect, multiplies together, then, that may affect just that effect, but it might also affect things that are affected by that effect that are not explicitly called out in the log.
So it's intentionally unintentional.
It's unintentionally intentional. Yeah. I'm just trying to scroll back here and I don't see anything about it. Sometimes, I mean, one thing it could be, I guess, is one thing that happened was some of the new perks we rolled out, they went out with a little bit higher a percentage than they were intended to, and so we hot fixed that. But the hot fixes like that only take effect when you reload the game, generally, or some of them do when you reload the game. And so it could have been a situation where you had the higher value and then we hot fixed it to the proper value. But I couldn't see that being a huge damage difference. And that's a very kind of niche thing that happens from time to time, as we have to go in and update those things. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have any comments on the changelog, Dave. I know I've been the one that's always been pushing the changelog.
You've been the changelog Nazi?
I've been the changelog Nazi. I'm like, put the stuff in the changelog. Players demand knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I for the most part, we've been pretty on top of it. At least it had been. I mean, I personally haven't been paying super close attention to the changelog of recent, but I know we got it to a point where, if a change was made, people were putting that in. So, I mean, if a specific change didn't get put in there, should let us know what that specific change was, pass it on. You can even send it to Sean, and then we can find out why that didn't get put there. But the intention is that everything gets placed there. Anything that's intentional is in there, and then, so should have been there. If we're dropping the ball on that, let us know, and we will check with Peter and see why things aren't getting put in there.
Yeah, I did find the thread once they mentioned it was Zeke there. I found the thread, and yeah, we weren't able to figure out what it is. It's a bit of a needle in a haystack when people are just like, my DPS went down. It's like, that's going to be a challenge to figure out why.
Right. So this does sound like an unintentional change if something did change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Next question here, which is probably for me, but I'm going to ask it to you because why not? It's from Star Chaser 43, and they want to know, what is the story about Kevin at the airport?
Oh man, did they forget? I think they didn't forget Kevin at the airport.
No, they forgot Kevin
when they
got to the airport. Or no, they're on the airplane. Right. We're talking about Home Alone. That was the plot from Home Alone.
It's a movie. It's a movie from the 90s. I'm very much aware of the fact that there may be people in this chat who were not even around when that movie came out, which makes me just feel really old, because it makes me feel like when people would refer to movies that came out in the 60s or 70s when I was a kid, and I'm like, that movie's so old, it came out before I was born.
Yeah. And what are they talking about on the radio? They were talking about the Harry Potter 20th anniversary or something special happening. It's like that came out 20 years ago. Shoot.
Oy.
Okay.
I noticed a comment here in the chat from Doorbell Streams who mentioned that the new patron stuff is not in the in-game changelog. None of it, only the variants. And I thought that I know that was an issue right when we pushed the changelog, that stuff wasn't in there, but it was caught pretty quickly, and I thought that we added it in. So since I am on my work computer, I can actually go and look at that while we are here. Let's see here.
Well, while you're looking that up, you should note there's a number of questions here that have been wondering where that year-end blog has been, Justin.
That year-end blog is coming soon.
Like TM, like doesn't Like, doesn't Valve have the trademark on that?
Yes, it is. It's on my list. I could show you my to-do list here, but it's got spoilers on it. But it is it is planned for very soon after this week.
It's
I
with
was
the
hoping.
it's with the
I was
changelog
hoping.
apparently.
I was hoping to get it out prior to the end of the year, and then there was just a whole bunch of stuff that came up. Plus, I was sick for a couple of days at the end of the year, so I didn't get it out. But I'm still hoping to get that out. So yeah, that's still something that's on the list. Also, I'm not finding even just the entry for. Are these not in any sort of order? Oh, they're not in any sort of order.
Well, I'm sure this is riveting.
Watch me navigate the. Here we are. New adventure variants. Did we add stuff to it? We didn't. What the heck? Okay. I'm going to go yell at someone for this. Just stand by. We're going to ask more questions.
Okay, next question is about the packs in the store. It's by Emmett, and Emmett asks, every pack in the store has a dollar value now only, or has an X dollar value now only Y dollars, even though the pack has never been on sale for X dollars. And then they put, nor will it ever be. Probably a fair statement, probably never sell for that price as a pack. Don't you feel that that's a bit shady? It heavily implies the pack is on sale when it is not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair perspective. The reason we do that is because we generally don't sell stuff for what the price, what we kind of consider the value to be.
Except individually for the most. So
individually, if we were to sell things individually, we sell it for that price. So, for example, champions, you can buy them individually for $10 in the store. We kind of consider GEs to be sort of a $5 value because that's kind of the minimum value that you can get them for in the store if you just don't care about the chests. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that goes into kind of assigning a dollar value to thing in analytics that's boring, and I won't get into it. So we try to do our package deals as something where it's like, this is the value of the stuff that's in here if you were to buy it all individually, and this is the price we're giving it to you for. Because it's sort of, it is on discount. So
yeah, I mean, I would say that that's the sort of the long and the short of it is all of the items that you can buy individually, we take the prices that you could buy them individually for, and then clump them all together and say, all right, this whole pack is selling for this value. So if we summed up all the individual values, and now because you're buying it as a group, it's got a discount, and it's so X to Y for that. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it seems pretty standard to me.
Yeah, the only sort of fuzzy bit is when there are items that we don't sell individually, and then we sort of have to take a guess at sort of how much of a percent value of a pack that's worth. But for all the ones that we do sell individually, we do have an exact price that we sell that item individually for, and we use that as part of the calculation. Yeah,
and I think we don't. Some of the things that I've seen other companies do that we don't do is sort of do that percent off thing in every single pack, even if it's not on sale kind of thing. We only show a percent off if it actually is on sale from its regular sale price. So yeah,
and that we call out very specifically, like was this price and now is this price, which is different from this value, now this price.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Before we get on to that, there's a question here if we're planning a turkey champion for next Thanksgiving. Or is that a spoiler and we should just skip that one?
Yeah, spoilers.
Okay.
Don't tell anyone about that turkey champion. Dr. Clux.
Can be your next Extra Life champion.
This turkey, I guess, yeah, Extra Life would be before at least U.S. Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's just in time.
Just in time. Okay, there we go. We've got our next champion for next year. For Extra Life. Design a champion. Let's see here. I've got a question here from JDog2773 who asks, can there be filter checkboxes on the journal loot page to remove the gem entries so we can find chests, etc. more easily?
Yeah, I mean that seems like that's certainly something that we could could do. That doesn't seem like that would certainly a nice quality of life item, I think, actually. So I'm going to tag that one. It's not something that we can prioritize as like we'll get this out immediately, but I think it should be on the list because that's don't see why not. Yeah.
Sure. Another question here from Lizard Tastes Good, who asks, can we get the ability to use multiples of the same potion in one run on Modron cores? So it's Modron core
yes.
automation.
Yeah, and right now, and from the beginning, it has only had the option to have one potion, or no, one of each type.
One of each type. Or one of each, yeah.
Right.
One of each type / rarity. So you could use a small, medium, large, and huge potion of the same type.
Yeah. And I mean, when we put that together, we knew that was sort of a limitation. So I again, it's something we could eventually do. It's hard to prioritize without a lot of requests for it, but certainly we put it on the nice to have list. I think it should already be on the nice to have list, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, stick it on the nice to have list. Here's another question or not another question. Here is a question. Here's another question, comma. This one's from Joe Mallow, who asks, can we get a collections page on the console, or in the console UI, I guess?
That is a good question.
Is this an opportunity for me to do my regularly scheduled discussion about my amazing collections page dialogue that I want to put into the game, but I have no timeline for?
With that level of introduction, no, I think you used all the time for that question on it.
Sorry, folks. Won't be able to talk about that today, but go back and check. No, I'm just kidding. So there is one thing that is kind of related to this. The collections page as it exists in the kind of normal UI just has basically all of the loot that you've collected for all your champions, and shows you whether you've ever had like the common, uncommon, rare, epic items for those champions. And it's kind of cool because you can go through and you can look at all the loot and whatnot, but it's just for loot. And so I think if we were to bring the collections page to the console, it would be as part of a big update that I want to do to the collections page, to have it show more than just loot, to have it show your total number of adventures you've completed out of all the adventures, and variants, and patron stats, and other stats, and monsters you've killed, and champions you've recruited, and all sorts of stuff. I really want it to be a giant sort of collection of progress bars that you can fill. So if we were going to bring something like that to console, it would probably be that. And I can't see us just porting the collections page as is over to console, because it's not super informative or useful, I think.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a mixed bag of effort to reward, like for effort to value, I think. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely players who are really keen on filling in all the individual items, and because the loot system prioritizes giving you upgrades rather than giving you elements that you were missing from your collection, which to some people's chagrin, that's not what they wanted. They wanted to fill it in. That you can actually end up in situations where it's tough to get those earlier items, and so other than just seeing if you've historically received one of those cards, it hasn't had a lot of value in terms of the gameplay. Although one thing that was brought up in a discussion that we were having yesterday was that there's a lot of one problem we've been running into with the cards actually is that Chris and the content side of things, they've been putting in more and more elaborate descriptions on the cards. and these descriptions, unfortunately, in many cases are using more, they've got more words, they're using more space than actually is available on the bottom of those cards. And we attempt to compensate that a little bit by shrinking the text font, and then it gets unreadable. And so there'd been some discussion around scrolling that set of text on the bottom of the card so that we could have longer descriptions. But it came up then that there's actually some there's some long running jokes or not long running, but character related jokes that progress from the common item up to the epic item in the descriptions. And if you get them, because you get them random, you actually end up with them out of order. And the only way to see them in the intended order is to go into the collection screen and read through the descriptions on the cards in order if you have them all. So there's that. I don't know if that's here nor there, but it is something that the collections page provides. So
cool. Let me scroll back up through the questions here. Here's a question from, oh dear, Yggdrasil 2K. There's a bunch of G's in there that I'm just not.
I think you're just supposed to pronounce the Y. It's just Yggdrasil.
Yeah, I'm gonna opt not to pronounce those G's at all. Who says, will there be a 64-bit version on Steam? My game crashes at 2 gigabytes of memory.
Yeah, so there's I know I asked Peter if we could bump the Steam version up to 64-bit. The one thing that was holding us back, and it was something that we wanted to check into before we did this, was that there's still some people who are playing on the 32-bit version on Steam. And so in order for us to switch to that, we'd actually end up having to do 2 builds if we didn't want to leave the 32-bit players out in the cold. So that was sort of a conversation stopper at that point. It still needs... I mean, I think it would be nice to switch to the 64-bit version. Crashing at 2 gigs is a problem. Those are things we should also be tracking down. Although I think usually it gets up to... get up to 3 before it dies in that? I'm not sure. Anyway, I know the issue right now. The reason we didn't just push it right out on Steam after we did the Epic one is because we do have players on Steam that are playing 32-bit, which we didn't just want to abandon at that point. Yeah, so further thought on that's required. Okay, next question here for you, Justin, is from Cool Bond. Cool Bond would like to know, are there any plans on uncapping the custom area reset for Modrons? Currently, the max is $14.99.
So yeah, I think probably in the future we will change the custom area reset for Modrons. I think $14.99 is if that's what it's set to right now, is probably fine for now. I'm trying to think of really how you would get to $14.99 without, or like automatically with Modrons. It feels like that would probably require some finagling. Though I guess maybe if Briv and Jim work just fine in Modrons, then I suppose you could use that. But yeah, I think we'll probably increase it at some point. I think I'm fairly happy with $14.99 right now. I don't think there's really any reason for it to be much higher than that.
You don't want to increase the price point on that?
No, $14.99 is right at the point where people start to be like, I'm not gonna. Anyway, let's see here. Here's a question from Cassius335, who says, can we get the ability to click on familiars that are in another party to pull them over to the current party, like you can already for champions?
Yeah, it's funny. I came across this yesterday, actually, of all times, because there was someone was reporting that the Iris familiar wasn't clicking, like the little click thing wasn't appearing. And so I loaded it up to check, and lo and behold, my Iris familiar was in another party, and I was like, wait, I can't pull it back. So I'm not 100% sure why that's blocked the way it is. I vaguely, very vaguely remember a discussion around that, and we ended up landing it at the point where it is. But I think it's probably related to the same issue with the champions being pulled over. Like before we did the instant recall, the reason that we weren't doing an instant recall is because we wanted to get the progress that party had made up to date before pulling them back. And so familiars sort of fall into that same bucket. They could really significantly impact the progress of the other party if you pull them out. But it does seem like that's something that, because we've decided that it's more important to have the ability to pull them over rather than sort of process the progress, that maybe we could switch that over to that as well. We just have to make sure that we put in a nice warning that says, hey, you pull this over, this is likely to adversely affect your other party. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Next question here. Oh, no, you want it?
Sure. No, go ahead.
What do we have here?
I know the answer to this one.
Oh. The question here is, would yes this? Okay, it's not hard to pronounce, but it's confusing. Would yes this asks, could you add the ability to open more than 50 chests at once? If not, could you add an option to open another 50 after you do a bulk open?
Yes. To the second question, where we probably won't add the ability to open more than 50 chests at once, but we have discussed on this show the idea of the option of having a open another 50 instead of a sort of continue or close or whatever the button is right now. Once you've I guess you get the cards and then you click continue and you get the dialogue with all the loot and you just click X on that. So adding a open another or whatever to that dialogue, so you can just kind of slam on that, is something that is in our to-do list. And the reason we don't want to let you open more than 50 chests at once is really just we just don't want the server to be doing that much work in one kind of go.
It's a union server.
It'll only open 50 chests at once, and we have to negotiate. No, but yeah, it's just for server. It's actually better. It seems kind of silly, but it's actually better if you open 50, then 50, then 50, then 50, then 50, than if you open 250 at once, just because it spreads out the load a little bit, and that is better. We're all about spreading out the load.
Yeah, we got too many people opening those at once. There's only, what do we got, 25, 30 Apache workers?
Anyway, we get into the specifics of it. Yes.
The way that it's structured, if approximately 30 calls run long all at the same time, then everyone else has to just wait. So we like to have shorter calls.
Yeah, and oftentimes, if we want to get into the details of server management stuff, but oftentimes when you start to see your calls take a while to come back, it's not because your particular call is taking a while to come back, or taking a while to process. It's because there's just so much stuff, so many requests going into the server, and oftentimes when it's slow, it's because there's so many slow things going into the server, which is why it slows down. So that is why we try to avoid having slow things go into the server, such as asking to open 500 chests at once. Anyway, you want to do the next question here too?
Sure. Next one here is, chat, your request has to wait in line with everyone else's. It's true.
That is true.
It's not a free-for-all. What kind of is a free-for-all? Anyway, next question here is from Coolbond again, and Coolbond asks, any plans on making the wild offer being multiple choice instead of the ability to or the ability to pin a particular offer if you don't have the ability to buy it currently? Currently, I only buy them in a blue moon when they actually have anything of worth. Okay.
So this is a good question. It's actually something we've discussed before, of how to make wild offers a little bit more interesting for people, considering they only pop up every once in a while, and there are so many potential items that could go into them that it's very rare that you kind of get one that's like, oh my god, yeah, this is exactly the item or exactly the combination of items I want. So we've seen a lot of suggestions about this recently, and I'm sure us talking about this now will cause more suggestions to appear in chat. But one of the things we're considering is just, instead of just having one wild offer pop up, you get 2 or 3 wild offers at a time, and you can kind of pick and choose which of them you want. And maybe we can spread out between those wild offers, spread them across price points, and have a variety of items in them instead of all just gold and epics. So yeah, there's a couple of things we're kind of thinking of doing with wild offers. No real concrete plans on when they will get implemented. Because oftentimes the wild offer stuff falls on me, and I'm very busy with other design stuff. But that is something that is tentatively in the plans. And someone's saying permanent wild offer storm.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question here is from iReckless Twitch, asking, Can you make previous special weekend chests available again on their anniversary weekend?
Yeah, I thought this was a cool question. We don't have any plans to do anything like this yet, but it's kind of sparked some ideas in my head as I've read through it. We are looking at tweaking our weekend promos to be a little bit more customized to individual players, because right now we just sort of go through and we pick 5 champions that are going to be in the chest and buffed that weekend. And the problem with doing that is that not everyone has all the champions. And so oftentimes, especially newer players, will get a weekend promo and they might only have 1 or 2 of those champions. We try and always put some of the evergreen champions in there, but that number has been going down more and more. So one of our plans is to tweak weekend promos so that the chests are and the champions being buffed are more custom to the player, to each player, and what champions you're using and what champions you've got in your formations. And so that's one thing we're thinking about doing for weekend promos. Not directly related to this question, but I figured it's an opportune time to mention it. Let's see. Next question here. Here's one for you, Dave, from Tarangar. Oh, that was an interesting noise. Who say, can we get automation to stop skipping a potion that starts after level 1 when Briv is jumping? It won't fire even if Briv lands on the level you set. Oh, that sounds like a bug.
Yeah, I tagged that question, or did you tag that question? It doesn't matter who tagged
that question.
The question is, that's absolutely a bug. Yeah. I think this is just a case of something being true at the time of the development, which was that you would never be able to skip through an area, and then became not true as Briv was introduced, and then no one got back to going in and correcting that new case. So yeah, definitely a bug, and definitely something that we can fix.
This is the problem with making a game that's basically built around exceptions to rules. It's like, this is how the game works, unless you have this champion in place. Okay, well, this is how this works, unless you have these champions in place. So definitely something to look at.
Yeah, okay.
Crazy Matt Captain has our next question here, and they ask, or they say, /ask, click and hold multi-patron perk purchasing when?
I mean, that doesn't seem like something that would be too difficult to add in, provided there's no objection to it.
No, I don't think it'd be difficult. I think that actually it would have been an issue before, but I think even before we launched perks, we removed the call per perk to purchase them. So I think it just does a save when you close the dialogue. So it's not even an issue for server stuff. So that's good. Good job, smart us, who kind of half did a thing and then didn't fully do it. Let's see. Here's a question that I highlighted to ask you from SailNet, who asked, could the Modron core page have an option to lock the layout? As someone on a tablet, moving pieces while moving the view is a pain. So I guess what happens is they're trying to move the view around on their tablet, and then it counts as a pick up and drag for pieces. They want to be able to just sort of that's me using an iPad.
I did put that together. Yeah, I think so. I think we could do that. Just to lock the pieces, right? Because the pieces are they're accidentally picking up the pieces.
That's what it sounds like is going on.
Yeah, I agree. That's what it sounds like. Yeah. Someone in the chat's following up saying, yes, that's annoying as an Android user. Yeah.
All right.
Add it to the list.
Add it to the list of things to assign to Stefan.
He likes having a full list.
Yeah. Next question here is for you. It's from Mike SDK2. It's like the second SDK version for Mike. Who asks, why is the statistic of a party that is run in the background never correct on the amount of gems found? For example, 21 gems for a party reaching level 251.
It could be Mike's DK2, like it's just dev kit 2, like the original Oculus dev kit.
Yeah. Well, Mike, it could be a software development kit, or it could just be a development kit. It's there's no apostrophe there.
I'm not dodging the question. It's so yeah. So the amount of gems found is an aggregation, and this is something that actually we did start work on before the break. And so I've got some code that's half written that needs to be finished to record every instance of of offline or background progress, and then aggregate that to get the result rather than doing a running aggregation. Because we've definitely run into cases with the running aggregation, which is where we have like one value, and every time you do an update, it adds to that. And then when you see it, it zeroes it out and puts new data in. That there are cases that can occur where it thinks you've seen it and then just does the next, like, oh, okay, that's done, zero it out, and then put the next run in. And so it can do some resets and then think it's seen it and then do the next one. What you actually are seeing is just the last set of offline progress run. But if you actually check your history, like you're in your journal, you'll see, oh yeah, actually we got all those gems, not just the ones that were shown in the welcome back. Now it should, the question here says never correct, but in our testing, it's certainly most of the time it seems to be correct, but it is wrong some of the time, and it's been difficult to track down because of that. I wish it were never correct, because then we could fix it. Then we could fix it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good lesson of software development is something is much easier to fix if it always happens. Things that happen some of the time are the biggest pain in the butt.
Yeah, especially the ones that happen almost, 1 in 100 times. That's but I mean, these are more like 1 in 10, but
yeah. In order to fix these things, you have to reproduce it, and in order to reproduce it, it has to happen for you. And it's as a computer guy, I often have relatives and friends and whatnot be, hey, can you look at this issue that's happening with my computer? And inevitably, what happens is as soon as you are standing behind them, looking over their shoulder, it doesn't happen again. So that's a similar kind of thing with bugs like this. Not to say we have an inkling of what's happening here, but there are certainly some bugs in the game that it's just like, yeah, we have no idea what's happening, and without being able to reproduce it reliably, we're never going to know.
Yep.
Let's see here. Next question is from Snobbiger, who asks, could you add, maybe in checkbox form, an option to Modron cores to not reset while potions are active? Probably a check to verify, like completing a variant. You would still be able to manually reset, but an auto reset would, if the verify checkbox was checked, bring up like a pop-up.
Huh. I mean, so when I saw this question, I was trying to wrap my head around sort of when it contextually would apply, like what circumstances would make sense for this, and then of course what potions.
It couldn't be huge potions.
Obviously, because then it would never work. So it would have to be specific potions.
I guess you could set it as, you use huge potions. You're like, please don't reset me. I'm trying to push as far as I can. But if I'm not using huge potions, then just reset whenever.
Right. I mean, I see a player in the chat saying that they're suggesting maybe it's if you want to do a deep run, but you forgot to turn off the reset. Right. Yeah, that's a tricky one for sure. I wonder if something like that maybe best around like a warning, or because obviously the opposite could occur, which would be that you wouldn't want to accidentally leave this on and you intended it to reset, and then you come back and you've got 0 resets and you've left it for 24 hours or for whatever period overnight.
I wonder if it's something where when you go to, it would be especially annoying with huge potions, right? Because they last until the end of the reset, and sort of the large ones and small and medium, they don't last very long, and you've probably got a good stock of them. But those huge ones are really powerful for deep runs. So I wonder if it's a case. Someone suggested, I think, when you use the potion, maybe you get a little. Or maybe someone didn't suggest it. Maybe it just popped into my head. But the idea of when you use a huge potion and you're on a Modron core that's got a reset set, it can be like, hey, just FYI.
Yeah. Well, someone in chat
you're going
to
reset soon.
They've got they want us to do the idle clippy, or maybe they're just making a joke. But the little paper clip.
Yeah.
What'd you call that? Animated character helper from Office 1996
it has to be like
or whatever.
A little beholder or something that pops up. It's like, hey. Looks like you're trying to do a deep run.
Yeah. All I have is an
we saw.
absolutely inappropriate joke that I won't say, burned into my head around Clippy. So
Perfect.
moving
Okay.
on.
You can share it with me after we're off
yeah.
stream. But not while the mic's hot.
Fair enough.
Here's a question from Decan Creates, who says, thinking of Turkey, well, that's an older question. Someone earlier in the week was asking if there would be more localizations, including Turkish.
So yeah, I don't have the list of localized languages off the top of my head, and maybe you do. I bet you.
I don't have the full list, but I know one of the languages that's not on there,
and that's not Turkish.
And it's Turkish. Turkish is not on our list of localizations that we're doing right now.
We do have 6 languages that are on the list, and they will be coming very soonish. TM.
Very soon. So Valve has soon time.
Soonish.
We've got very soonish. Asterisks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a priority item for us right now to get that ready so that we can get that out into the hands of players soon, very soon. Soon, because we've been working on that for over a year now, right? Or nearly.
It's been a while. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of words in this in this game.
Too many.
Too many words.
Okay.
I would say. I think we've got time for maybe just this last one.
Fair enough.
We'll call it a day.
Yep, we got to save something for next week anyway. Start us off.
True. Yeah.
Cool. Next question here is from Phoenix Fire, asking, is there a canonical reason why the regular potions, giant strength, etc., are the colors that they are? I still find it confusing after 9 months, light blue, blue, orange, yellow, yellow with a swirl in it. If not, can we have more color differentiation?
Good question. There is actually a canonical reason why the regular potions are the colors and the way they are, and that's because that is the way it is written in the player's handbook and in the various sources that they come from or that they are kind of based off of. So yeah, the giant strength is, I think it's got like a toe or something in it, and that's straight from the book. So that is the way they are. When we do potions that are not from the book, we kind of do our own thing. That's why like the potion of specialization is purple, because that is different from the other colors. But yeah, that's the way it is. And you'll have to ask someone over at Wizards why all their potions are very similar colors. But that is not this stream. That's a different stream.
You're not wrong. All right. I think that's
Indeed.
it. I think that's all we've got time for.
Okay, where's our outro? Here we go. If we didn't get to your question, don't worry. You'll have another opportunity. We will be live again at this same time next week. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. And I didn't double check with who our mods are this week, but thank you, tireless mods. You guys are awesome. And they're the ones who copy your questions into the question stock and make sure the chat stays awesome. So thanks very much, guys.
Yep. And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, and enjoying the game. Without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
We'd have to do something else.
Well, that's all we got. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Bye.
Man, I forgot how to do this. I thought we were still using OBS. And I almost hit stop stream instead of switch scene.
Oh man, that was close. Then the stream would have ended.